All right, you guys are live.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to our operations committee welcome everybody to our November 30th, 2021 operations committee. And the first thing we will do is a roll call of our directors.
Okay, Director Wieskamp,
Here.
Director Corbett,
Here.
Director Eccles,
Present.
AGM O'Connor,
Present.
and staff guests and participants as well as presenters attending the meeting today include Agda Pagan,
Present.
Manley, Jeremy Saito, Renee Patterson, Robert Kennedy, Shannon Punt, Tiffany Margolisi, and we have Mike Morand. And today's meeting is held pursuant to the Brown Act as amended by AB 361. Board members and staff may participate via phone, video conferencing. This meeting is a hybrid of an in-person attendance with board members and designated staff. We are providing live audio and video streaming. Public comments may be submitted live via Zoom, via email, or voicemail as noted on the agenda located on the Park District website. If there are no questions about the meeting procedures, we will begin.
See any questions?
No.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. The first item we're going to review today is the review of the special use agreement with the Oyster Bay Club, the Oyster Bay Regional Shoreline. I'd like to let you all know I had the opportunity to give a few statements and appreciate the start of some of the use there at the Oyster Bay Regional Shoreline, and I thank the participants for that. So if you'd like to go ahead with the presentation, go ahead. Ms. Patterson, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
I saw your mouth moving, so I'm assuming you're talking to us, but your phone is not on.
It does make it difficult, huh?
Can you hear me, Director Corbett?
Yes, yes.
Okay. We're going to try another microphone, see if that works. Do the test there, Renee.
Thank you. Hello. Oh.
1 second. Somebody's laughing. Um, 1 second. Our apologies. We had it working. Director Wieskamp, can you hear Ruby?
Board members, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you, Jim. But nothing else.
I think I heard, was that Ruby? Or, yeah, I heard somebody. Somebody other than Jim and Ann, I mean.
No, the only person I've heard was Jim. And of course, earlier, Denise.
Can you still hear me as well as you did earlier?
Yes.
Yes.
We're working on an alternate. Our apologies. We had it working perfectly and we don't know what's going on now. So 1 second, Renee is going to move into the conference room and work from her laptop instead of the podium. So 1 second.
Okay.
It's the world. You adapt constantly.
Yes,
Yes,
it's nobody's fault. We've had
Yep.
these situations at all meetings.
It is what it is.
We know it's not intentional.
yeah, she's going to move into the conference room and work off her laptop in there. So I think that should be fine.
Okay, very good.
Well, this is exciting for you, Ellen, to get that disc golf going.
Yeah, it was very much fun.
It almost seems like a terrific family sport. People of all ages could participate together.
Yes, we'll probably hear about that.
Yes. Yeah, as I said, I've had some experience working with disc golfers in my career, and it is a great sport and it's a great family sport. So I'm really happy that we're opening this new course. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a very nice spot where we're doing it. Nice view.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, a nice view. I don't know, how are the winds there? That might affect your ability.
Probably depends on the day.
It's all, and the time of the day, probably. It's
Sure.
like here.
Yeah, do you want to do that?
Yeah.
Tiffany, you can give it. Tiffany's going to give us a little
Yeah.
introduction here while we get Renee.
Yeah, thanks
Reset.
again for your patience, committee members and Chair Corbett, Tiffany Margalisi, Business Services Manager. And we are, as Chair Corbett said, really excited that this course is now open to the public. It's a publicly open course with open play. And we're very excited to be working with the Oyster Bay Disc Golf Club, who is really just getting up and running. They have recently formed their club. They are going to file their paperwork with the state to become a legal entity. And they just have so much enthusiasm and openness about bringing people into the sport of disc golf. We have quite a few club members here today. And I just wanted to say that as an opening remark. And Renee, when you're ready. I'll
Hello,
hand
this
it
is a
over to
test.
you.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Hello there. We can see you.
Hello. I am going to share my screen. So if you would confirm that you can see the presentation, I'd appreciate that.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
least I can.
Your participants, you need to take off your participants. Click it closed, please.
My participants.
Yep, there you go. Perfect.
Okay. I'm going to start from the beginning. Today we're here to talk about the Oyster Bay Disc Golf Club Special Use Agreement. My name's Renee Patterson. I'm an administrative analyst in business services, and also here today are some operations folks. Agda Pagan, she's the acting park supervisor for Oyster Bay, and also Jeff Manley, who's the shoreline unit manager. And of course, Tiffany Margalisi, who's the business services manager, and Jim O'Connor. Okay, so when we do a review of special use agreements, we always go through the same process. I'll explain a little bit about what a special use agreement is, and then we'll look at the location, a little bit of background, what kind of use they will have, just a little bit about the agreement, and then have the staff recommendation. So special use agreements must meet the district objectives with appropriate public benefit and priority. And any special use agreement has to have recreational development, activity, service, or land use that is provided for group and general public benefit by clubs, associations, or similar groups operating as a nonprofit entity with membership open to the public. The types of groups that we have currently are archery, swimming, equestrian, scouting, horticulture, etc. So the location at Oyster Bay is somewhat in the southwest corner of the park. As you can see in that red area there, it's very loosely outlined there. It's not accurate, but it is near the wave sculpture that most people associate with Oyster Bay. And this diagram is a satellite view that shows the direction of the 18 holes there, which way the play moves across the course. So the land use plan included this area exclusively for a disc golf course. And in February 2017, Whirlwind Disc Golf was contracted to design and install the 18 basket course and provide all the necessary equipment at each site. So that includes the basket, the pads for the tee, any little sign that describes the direction of the play and what hole it is and things like that. Or I keep saying hole, but it's really a basket. each tee has a basket, or more than one basket actually, for different levels of play. So that work was completed recently in October, and the work was completed through scheduled quarterly volunteer work days. All the work was completed at the direction of Whirlwind Disc Golf, but with volunteers. So the club was formed this year. They got their bylaws set up and they elected their officers. The reason that they did this was so that they could promote the sport of disc golf with an emphasis on outreach at Oyster Bay, and for work groups to maintain the disc golf course in good playable condition. And the club will register as a legal entity as soon as they can, and we will not bring this to the board until that happens. So the public benefit is that the group is open to the public for general membership, and then they have already set up a means of doing some outreach with different groups. So groups that they're interested in doing events with are hearing impaired, women only, or youth. So also they made a point that this type of activity is popular with ages ranging from 6 to 90. So pretty much they're saying anybody can do it. These are just some pictures of what their work days look like when they were setting up the tees and the pads. Some more pictures for their work days. These are pictures from their opening day, which I believe Director Corbett attended. And then the special use will be non-exclusive. This is a course open to the public at all times. There is no means of, enclosing the course. It will always have public use, even on their special event days. There will be no on-site storage for the club. Their special use will include their maintenance of the course. And what good playable condition means: site inspection of signs, baskets and tees, manual weeding using hand tools, graffiti removal, and erosion control as needed and as directed by park staff. The club will be allowed to have up to 5 events per year with no fee, and they're allowed to sell different disc-related items to help fund their activities. That would include t-shirts and hats and things, but also the discs themselves. So the agreement is going to be a pilot program for 2 years. It's going to have an $100 annual fee. And at the end of that 2-year period, district staff will give an update to the board at the end of the term to review this new recreational activity, as well as the club's compliance with the special use agreement. So the recommendation is for Park District staff. Recommendation is that the Board Operations Committee approve and recommend to the full board a special use agreement with Oyster Bay Disc Golf Club for a 2-year term with a $100 annual fee. And if you have any questions today, Park staff is here, as well as Tiffany and Jim. And then from the club, we also have some members here to answer questions. So.
Thank you very much. And we, of course, welcome the members of the club being here with us today. So thank you for that and all the things you have been doing. So let me just ask if there are any questions or comments by any of the directors, Director Eccles or Wieskamp. Do you have anything you'd like to ask?
I think I am really pleased that they've stuck through a difficult time to achieve this. And I do think it looks like it should be a great family sport. And I think that is really hard for families to find as a group. It's not just tossing around something, it's a real game that they can participate in. So congratulations. And I certainly support it.
Thank
Yes.
you. Director Eccles?
Yeah, likewise. It looks like it's very well done and it looks like a lot of fun. And I'm really impressed the way they were able to bring together all these volunteers to do the work. And yeah, it looks like a good addition. So thank you.
Yes. And I am familiar with some of the fun they've had at other parks, like the City of San Leandro part of the Lake Chabot Park. And so we definitely welcome to Oyster Bay as well. I do have a few questions. The 5 events look quite impressive to reach out to various different groups. And I am just hoping before this item goes to the full board, that we might have more of a calendar so we know what time of day the special events will be. Is that something we can have as part of the agreement with them or the contract?
Thank you for the question, Director Corbett, about special event permits. And to put it in context, what we typically do, and we do have a member of the club here who is their event coordinator, Jeff, which I'll hand off to him in a minute. He may have some more information. But typically our process with special events and a group such as the Oyster Bay Disc Golf Club would be to meet about once a year, set our calendar, and then they will still be going through the special event permit application process per the special event policy. So they'll need to say, you know, what time of day, what the, you know, pace of play will be. And then if needed, which would be appropriate here, we then also require certain types of public notification, maybe some signboards in the park saying, hey, this is going on this day, so that the public can be informed as to what might be going on. All of the events will be open to the public. So that's important to know, that even though there may be a specific type of use or an event happening, that they would still be open to all members of the public, not just club members. And with that, I think I'll turn it over to Jeff, and perhaps you can speak more a little bit about, I understand the club doesn't have their dates yet because this is a very new, newly formed club, even though it's been a long-standing effort to get the course built. But Jeff does have some leads and ideas about what might be coming. So Jeff, can you speak to that a little bit more?
So can I just add a couple of things that
of course.
Possibly he will talk to as well? Just so we can do that, I'll give him the opportunity to talk to those. I was also, it is impressive to have have a posting somewhere at the park that will show when the events are coming, the bigger events. So that I think is quite helpful. And then the other question I would have is, would the club have an opportunity, or maybe you're already thinking about this, to have lessons or some sorts of classes in the public at the park to help teach new families about what a great sport this is? And so that's my second question. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jeff Rexroth. I just want to introduce myself. And thank you very much all for your time. Absolutely. Currently, since we are such a brand new club and this is such a brand new property, our events are just a little bit behind. But as we going forward, we will be very much on top of this, and all the events will be planned out definitely with months and months in advance. Signage wise, it makes a lot of sense for us to let the community know that we are going to be hosting special events there. It is absolutely beautiful to see the amount of families, kids that have been coming to this new park and really enjoying what Oyster Bay gives us. So I absolutely agree. I think putting signage will not be a problem. And I think putting signage up in advance could definitely help the communication with the community. When it comes to lessons and workshop, I just call them workshops. Absolutely. Myself and another board member, Mike Alvarez, that is something that we are really excited about our club, is that we want to be able to grow the sport. And Mike and our background is in outreach. I used to work for the YMCA. I also used to work with Bay Area Disc Association, which is a nonprofit organization here in the Bay that teaches ultimate Frisbee. We've been working with many cities, and I was one of the original people that started camps. We had one camp in Berkeley, and then now we have 10 to 12, potentially growing to 15 to 20 camps all across the Bay Area, just teaching ultimate Frisbee. I could see that when it goes back to just events themselves, I could see that being an opportunity with especially Oyster Bay. There is a fantastic opportunity through Bay Area Disc and this park of teaching a lot of youth. And a lot of that can be paid for through volunteer dollars. The Bay Area Disc is really good about fundraising. And we would like to be able to give these workshops as free as possible. And at the end of those workshops, if they could get discs into their hands, we can continue that growth. So that is something that we are extremely focused on event wise, is absolutely that. When it comes to larger events, we have been approached by clubs and whatnot that want to run A-tiers, which is the biggest event, the elite event in our sport. And that is a multi-day, potentially Friday, Saturday, Sunday event. That is the big one. C-tiers are a low event. That's a one-day event. And that ranges somewhere in between the 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You just kind of take up all of the daylight with a C-tier. So those are kind of the little information on what events are. We will absolutely cement in what those events will be for the upcoming calendar.
Great. That all sounds very impressive. Thank you for your hard work on that. And I'm assuming it might be great to have an annual event where there's sort of a festival, might not be the right word, but some sort of event where we're encouraging people to stop by to learn the sport. And I'm sure the Park District would be able to be a partner to that.
Absolutely. We were lucky enough to be able to, sorry to interrupt, we were lucky enough to be able to do our opening during the same weekend as Fleet Week. And there was no better view than watching every single hole full of families and disc golfers, and watching Blue Angels fly over. I mean, on a regular, we get to watch 747s come into Oakland Airport, and then for that one special weekend, we get to have the U.S. Navy in our backyard, putting an absolute show in the sky. And we get to see it from a beautiful chair that is that park. So that is definitely going to be one of those big events, something like that, where we can really, really pop to the community. Yeah,
that sounds like a great idea. Thank you very much. I'm very impressed. Thank you. Any other comments or questions by directors? All right, Mr. O'Connor.
A quick comment. I think there's also, in terms of your comments around lessons, Director Corbett, is probably an opportunity for the club to partner with our Regional Parks Foundation in terms of providing discs for newbies to the sport. That might be another opportunity.
Yes, that was, I know I'm just one member of the board, but in my mind, the thought was to have one great event during the year where we really promote the fact that we have this type of opportunity and that we get involved with doing things like you suggested, having lessons and giving away discs and such things that say East Bay Regional Park District on them, of course.
Of course. Yeah, and I'm sure our rec staff would love to be part of that too. So
yes, I think so. Thank you very much. Very impressed. Are there any other comments, or would someone like to take a motion or make the motion? Director Wieskamp?
I would be glad to make a
Wieskamp?
motion to move it. I think it's going to be fantastic, and what enthusiasm.
I'd be happy to second.
Wonderful. Can you please take the roll on the motion?
Yes, Director Corbett,
Aye.
Director Eccles,
Aye.
Director Wieskamp,
Aye.
so moved.
Okay. Successful. Thank you all very much to all of those of you who came to listen today and all the great work you've been doing. We look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you so much.
I have a suggestion. Let's make a field trip when they're having a special event.
That sounds good too. We do enjoy our field trips.
or it might be time for a lesson, field
yeah,
trip and get a
exactly.
lesson. There you go.
Maybe they can teach us a few things too, and we can have competitive directors.
Oh, wow.
Competing and, you know. Very good. Thank you so much. All right. So we'll go ahead to our next item, and that's the annual Tidewater update.
Mike, you gonna take this one on?
There we go. I got to go. And thank you very much. A little bit of technical difficulty there. Thank you very much. Thanks, Chair Corbett and Directors Wieskamp and Eccles for this opportunity. My name is Mike Moran. I am the Regional Interpretive Recreation Services Manager for the Northwest region, and my pronouns are he and his. And again, I thank you for the opportunity to provide this update regarding the Oakland Strokes facility and program operations down at Tidewater Boating Center since COVID-19. Oakland Strokes Executive Director Dana Hooper will provide a report on the Strokes operations, including the implementation of their community outreach and their deeper engagement to nearby neighborhoods and schools and area youth. I'll give a quick background here and then I'll turn it over to Dana. In November 2003, East Bay Regional Park District Board of Directors authorized an application for grant funds from the 2002 Proposition 40 Resources Bond Act for the next phase of development of the Tidewater Park at Martin Luther King Jr. Regional Shoreline. And these grant funds are allocated on a competitive basis for areas that have a critical lack of parks, open space, shortage of youth services, significant poverty, and unemployment. And the Park District requested these funds to develop boating facilities at Tidewater and work in collaboration with Oakland Strokes to provide a boating program for rowing opportunities, including a youth employment and outreach program. In 2008, January 2008, the district and Oakland Strokes entered into a lease agreement, which included detailed and measurable criteria as outlined in the Oakland Strokes Community Outreach Program Development Plan. The program mission was to create and or expand opportunities for Oakland youth to participate in competitive rowing and on-the-water recreational activities offered on the Oakland Alameda Estuary and San Leandro Bay. And then finally in 2011, January 2011, the facility opened up and Oakland Strokes and the Park District obtained occupancy. Today, Mr. Hooper will present Oakland Strokes community outreach activities and progress in what we all know to have been a very difficult, trying period, now pushing 2 years And as you'll hear, Oakland Strokes has taken a very active approach to adapt their programs and services to meet the needs of these times. Quick aside, I'd personally like to thank Dana and his crew for a renewed emphasis on cooperation and communication. Tidewater has its challenges and opportunities, and we appreciate that the Strokes are moving to address both. I'd also like to recognize the outdoor recreation team led by Supervisor Jeremy Saito, who work most closely with the Strokes on a nearly daily basis, and Business Services Manager Tiffany Margalisi and her team, resident and Martin Luther King Shoreline Ranger Monique Bigby, MLK, the whole Ranger crew led by Supervisor Lisa Brotman and actor Agda Pagan, sorry, Agda. Crown Beach Ranger crew led by Dave Meckie, and the ASD project manager, Toby Perry, has been very busy overseeing this very exciting construction and climate resilient park project at Tidewater. And construction inspector John Valandre and everybody else in their efforts for ensuring Tidewater is meeting the needs of and the mission to the community. We have a lot of players down there doing a lot of good work at a place with a lot going on. So thank you very much. And I will now turn it over to Mr. Hooper. Thanks, Dana.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Before I get started, I have some slides to share to go over the programs that we've been running this past year. Dan Herbert, who's the chairman of our board of directors, is on this call as well. And he asked to just be able to say a few words before I got going. So
thanks, everybody. And thanks to the park for, for all the support over the years. I mean, we started this process in my involvement with, 2006 maybe, or even before in that time period. Assisted in writing the grant, getting the grant supported up the way, and then finally opening this wonderful facility. I'm also grateful to the park for keeping it open during COVID because that created opportunities for us, and we literally doubled down or tripled down our effort to reach into the community at the very trying time, knowing that it was super important for kids to get out of the house, to be someplace where it was active and safe, where they were able to spread apart outdoors and run our programs. We've done, Dana is going to highlight some of the things that we've done, but among them, I mean, we even went out to keep kids safe. We acquired single shells, a recreational single shells, so they didn't have to be in a boat together. So we could actually get them on the water as needs be. In addition to that, we as you know, we had 2 vans down there that were subject to a lot of vandalism and theft over the time, and we donated them. But in the meantime, we acquired a newish 14-passenger van to support some of the work that we're doing with a STEM program, STEM to Stern program in Oakland. So we're very grateful for this opportunity. I'll let Dana take it from here and be standing by for any questions as they may arise. So thanks again, really appreciate it.
And thank you too.
All right, I will attempt to share my screen. Okay, hopefully everyone can see that. Perfect, thanks, Mike. So we'd like to take this time to talk about the way we've been building our partnerships and deepening our relationships. That started really last year with COVID. There were 3 programs that we highlighted last year to the board, and we'd like to talk about those programs and talk a little bit about how we've gone to continue to pursue them and deepen those relationships. Okay. Before we do that, we'd just like to acknowledge the collaboration that we've had with the Park District staff. It's been invaluable to maintaining our programming throughout the pandemic. It's been very challenging, but it's been great to work with the Park District staff because I feel like we were on the same level in terms of feeling the need to keep everyone safe, but provide access. And we look forward to continuing to work together to increase community access to the Oakland Estuary and to water sports. And special thanks really want to go to Jeremy. Jeremy's my immediate contact, and we've worked together really well. Mike, who just spoke, his new contact for us, but he's been very, very inviting, very quick to offer aid. Tiffany Margalisi is someone who I go to from time to time with some pretty challenging issues, and she's always very helpful. Ann Casabon has been wonderfully helpful over the years and a great supporter. And lastly, have to acknowledge Toby Perry, who's project managing the Tidewater expansion project and had to deal with me pestering him this morning. And he's been very good natured about that. So yeah, the theme of today is deepening our relationships. We think it's vitally important that we're not just a one and done type of an organization where we gather students up, bring them down to the estuary once, and then say goodbye and never talk to them again. So we're working to build trust through a consistent presence with our partner organizations, always showing up, creating meaningful and lasting relationships with the schools, community organizations, and city agencies, and providing opportunities and resources to the youth and their families. We really want to create opportunities. We acknowledge that not everyone is going to be a rower, but we want to create opportunities for those who are so inclined. So that starts with familiarizing middle and high schoolers with rowing, establishing long-term partnerships with the local schools and organizations, and then through those partnerships, we can create pathways for students to get on the water at Tidewater. During this process, we've amended our mission statement, athlete handbook, employee handbook, and other club materials to emphasize welcoming and inclusion. Our mission statement currently reads, our mission is to provide student athletes of all backgrounds and abilities the opportunity to row, develop, and commit to a team that competes at a national level. Our program fosters strength of character, a strong work ethic, self-confidence, and a respect for others. And we believe we are aligned with the Parks District Board of Directors resolution denouncing racism and systemic racial injustice, and are committed to strengthening the culture of inclusion and belonging in our club. So in this past year, the Oakland Strokes staff has dedicated over 200 hours of direct coaching of our community programs. 3 of our board members have devoted 200 to 300 hours each to direct coaching of community programs. The picture on the right, or the left of the 2 pictures, are our board members, David Banks and Kay Worthington. They are 2 of the 3 board members that have devoted just a huge amount of time. In addition, Dwayne Akins, who's pictured on the right, was added to the Strokes Board of Directors. Dwayne founded We Lead Ours, which is one of the organizations that we've been working with over COVID. And after working with him for about 6 to 9 months, we decided we needed him on our board, and he's graciously accepted it. All of our community programs are at no cost to participants, which is vitally important. And the Oakland Strokes provide fee waivers and reductions for athletes who bridge into our middle and high school programs from our community programs.
Dana, can I interject something here real quick? Just as an additional point, we now have started well, it's been in effect for over a year, a standing board committee that meets bi-weekly, specifically dedicated to these programs, to diversity and inclusion. It's a diversity inclusion working group. And it's consistent, and we consistently stay up with it. It comes back to Dana's point of being consistent and being there and ever present. So sorry, Dana, go ahead.
No problem. So the programs that I'd like to talk to today, first are the 3 that we presented last year and talk about the growth that have come out of those programs. So those are the We Lead Ours Community Sunday Fitness, which has added a weekend Learn to Row program component. The second is the A.R.I.S.E High School Pathways to Rowing program, which has become a school-approved high school enrichment program. And the third is our East Oakland Youth Development Center Learn to Row fitness program, which has transitioned into an after-school program. I'd also like to talk about a new program, which is called STEM to Stern, and it's a middle school rowing program. Before we get there, just a quick little map to show where we are and where our partners are coming from. So Tidewater Aquatic Center is there in the center of the screen. The grayed out area is the Oakland Stroke Service area as defined by our lease. Those are the draw areas for the the Fremont High School and Castlemont High School, the two draw areas. The green marks are where all of our partners have come from, and I won't run you around the board, but you can see that there's a large amount of them that are in our service area, but we haven't limited ourselves to the service area. If there's a program or a school that we feel is a good partner and they're interested, we've included them in our community programs as well. So starting with We Lead Hours. So last year during COVID, We Lead Hours, Dwayne Aikens, founder, noticed that there really weren't any opportunities for youth in East Oakland to get out of the house. They were stuck in house all day long on school, and they weren't really getting out. There wasn't any after school type program. So he started an outdoor tennis camp to provide physical education for the middle school students. The Strokes added a rowing and fitness activity to the camps. These first sessions started in October 17th of 2020, and the Strokes have attended every weekend since, up to and including this last weekend. Except when we were running our weekend Learn to Row programs, which we'll talk about in a second. These are drop-in programs. There's 6 to 15 athletes per session, with about 60% returning week to week. And on November 15th, 2020, the WELO kids rowed at Tidewater in our first Learn to Row program. Based on the success of that, the Strokes started holding weekend Learn to Row programs for various schools and youth organizations in Oakland. So that's kind of a lead up to our Learn to Row program. These are free 2-day sessions where the students are in boats, and they're really focused on learning by doing. So rather than spending a lot of time on land talking about rowing, we're able to get the athletes into boats almost immediately. And that's due in part to the boats pictured here that Dan mentioned earlier. These are flat bottom. In addition, there's pontoons under the outriggers. So athletes can get into these boats, be pushed off the dock, and really learn by trying, as opposed to how rowing is normally done, which is you learn by people talking at you. The camp, each camp involves 1 to 2 local schools or organizations, so that the students are learning within their own peer group. It's really important, and success goes up when they bring a friend. This is an ongoing program. We run 1 weekend every 1 to 2 months. The first session was in late December of 2020. There's between 10 and 20 students per session, and between December of 2020 and August of 2021, we had 71 athletes run through the program. The athletes are encouraged to join our middle school and high school programs after attending a Learn to Row weekend. The next program that we want to highlight is with A.R.I.S.E High School. So A.R.I.S.E is based in Fruitvale. Their campus is in Fruitvale, and they have limited sports programs and very few opportunities for their athletes to represent their school. In the 2020-2021 school year, the Strokes provided an after-school rowing program, which had both online and in-person components. For that year, we held 3 practices a week. First practice was on October 19th, 2020, and ran through April 30th of 2021. 6 athletes participated in the program. 2 of those athletes moved on to the Oakland Strokes High School program for the spring season, so for the January to late April season. One of those athletes continued on with us through the summer. That athlete is Francisco Prado, who was last year's featured athlete in our presentation. He was on the team in the spring. He graduated high school last spring and is currently attending UC Davis and is on their club rowing team. And on November 14th, he raced in the UC Davis boat at the head of the Lagoon Regatta in Foster City. So that's the lower picture you see. Francisco is on the right, making things happen in bow. This year, and based really on the success of our programs for the past 2 years with A.R.I.S.E, the A.R.I.S.E named the Oakland Strokes as an improved enrichment program for the 2021-2022 school year. So this fall, students from A.R.I.S.E started attending a 3-period enrichment program at Tidewater, including on-land training and on-water rowing. So it's 1 day a week from 10:30 to 3:30. from 10:30 to 3, which is a pretty long time to be at the boathouse. They spend the first half of their practice on land, and then the second half of the practice going out in boats. It's an ongoing program. First practice was on September 22nd, 2021. There's 18 athletes enrolled, and we're working to try to recruit some of them onto our high school program at the conclusion of this fall program. The last of the continuing programs that we wanted to highlight is with the East Oakland Youth Development Center. So in the fall, the Oakland Strokes ran a fitness program using our rowing machine. Last year, the East Oakland Youth Development Center moved away from their normal programming, which is after school, to in-school programming, where they were really working on helping their students access online teaching. And so they noticed that they needed a kind of a PE component for that, and the Oakland Strokes were part of the PE component that they ran to make sure that their kids didn't go too stir crazy. This year, they've moved back to an after-school programming model, and the Strokes are running a weekly erg fitness program for their middle school athletes. And we're currently working to schedule a learn to row weekend with them so that they can get on the water and really understand what rowing's all about. The last program that we want to talk about is the STEM to Stern middle school rowing program. So STEM to Stern is a nationwide program for middle school students in marginalized communities. It combines STEM education with rowing and swimming. STEM to Stern partners with youth rowing clubs like the Oakland Strokes, and it's really, programs are run by the local partners. So in this case, the Oakland Strokes are running our program. What STEM to Stern, the national organization, does is it just helps provide curriculum. It helps provide experience and they've been very successful in the places where they've run. So they've learned a lot of lessons, and there's a lot of sharing of information. The other thing that STEM to Stern does is